Good day. Welcome to this lecture series in Godot.
Hello, good day, welcome back. In this video, we will learn how to use the canvas layer node to create this parallax effect with this background, which will stay fixed, and we'll also learn how to use the label node to display text. So let's go ahead and get started. So we basically have a complete game in terms of the main game mechanics. So we have the player controller, we have the maze functionality working, but the background is not covering the entire screen. Let me zoom up a bit. So we have the gray default color of the background here, and we can fix this. There's a few ways we can fix this. So the first way is to make the background bigger. So what we can do, make sure we have the background selected. We can zoom out a bit. We can go to the edge, so quickly select the edge, hold on Alt on the keyboard and drag this. So when you hold Alt, you're moving to the scale on both sides as well, the left and the right as well. So I'll work with this. So we can start the game, and as you can see, this will work. Well, it's a simple game, so this will work. This wouldn't be a problem. So while this can work, I mean, sometimes when you're working with a game, you don't want to change the size of the screen every time you're working on a new level. And we are not getting a parallax effect. So for those who do not know what a parallax effect is, it's when the background moves slower relative to the foreground. So we'll undo the effect on the background. So press Control Z. Alright, so we're not going to scale the background like this. We are going to use a new node called a canvas layer to fix our problem. So I'll select this, click on new node, and look for canvas layer. Select this, canvas layer. So I'll move this canvas layer to the top of the scene tree here. So what is a canvas layer? A canvas layer is simply another way to control the way how things are drawn inside of our scene. So as you recall, we learned how to use the Z index or the Z order, and we also learned how to use the draw order inside of the scene tree. So the canvas layer takes this a step further and creates a separate rendering layer. So we have this selected. If you go here by the inspector panel, you can see it has a layer property. So we see layer here, and so these have layers upon layers that are stacked upon each other. So this is just like the Z index or the Z order, but it has higher priority than the Z index or the Z order. So by default, everything that is drawn inside of our scene is drawn at layer 0. So everything that we have as a child of the canvas layer will, since it's at a layer 1, this is at the layer 1, it will be in front of everything that is on layer 0, because the default layer in Godot is layer 0. So to show this, if we take the background, so right now, if we have the background here, right, and we can see the background is really behind everything in the scene here. So if we take the background and make the background a child of the canvas layer, you can see the background is now in front of everything else. I mean, that's because it's on now a child of the canvas layer. So the canvas layer, as we mentioned before, it's on the default of layer 1, but everything else other than the canvas layer, default value will be on layer 0. So that's why the background, so although the background, we look at the background, and although the background have a z index of -10, because the canvas layer and layers take a greater precedence over the z index, because this is now on a higher layer, and everything else, so the sprite, the spaceship, the player one, the maze, etc., all these things are on layer 0. The canvas layer, the background, which is now a canvas layer, will be in front of everything else. However, if we take this canvas layer here and we put this from layer, let's put this at, let's say, layer -1. Remember, the default for everything else is layer 0. So if we put it at -1 is less than 0, so it's towards the back. So now look at what happens. We see the background is now behind everything else, because remember, the canvas layer takes precedence or priority over the, the z index and the draw order. So now, since you put this at layer -1, -1 is lower than 0. So now we put everything on canvas layer behind everything else, because everything else is on layer 0. So you might be wondering why use a canvas layer, because if we put this on layer -1, the background is a child of the canvas layer, so it now inherits that property, and essentially the background is now effectively in the same position that it was before. So why use the canvas layer to begin with? Well, it's because the canvas layer has its own transform. It does not get affected by the default transform changes. So you might be wondering, what does that mean? Well, essentially that means that the camera we have inside of the player will not affect the canvas layer. So to see this, let's play the game. So we have the player. You see the background. Alright, to reset. So this is working. So we see the background. You don't really need to adjust the background. So reach the end right there. So we solve the problem in the background. The background is come like it's moving. Well, moving to, remember, the background wasn't really all that big. The background was just this small area. But when we play the game now, we can move here. All this, the background wasn't covering all here, but it's now being covered because this is on the canvas layer, and the canvas layer is not being affected by the camera on the player right here. So that's very good. Note that does not mean you cannot change or cannot move the canvas layer. If you go to the inspector panel here, you can see that the canvas layer has a transform property. There's the X, there's the Y, there's the rotation, there's the scale. We can adjust, we can move, we can rotate, we can change the canvas layer, but it will be independent of everything else. So it is a good practice to have a canvas layer as the parent of your user interface nodes at all times. So let me give you like a practical example. Suppose we have a player, and on top here we have lives, we have, like, let's say, the score, we have like the boss health, and we have like some other stats unlocked here, like level number, or some kind of stats unlocked. We don't want these things to change as the player changes them. So as the camera that is attached to the player, as that moves, we don't want that to move as well. So definitely, it's useful to put that on the canvas layer. Note that is an effect that currently, how can I say, exists in Unreal Engine. So to achieve that effect in Unreal Engine, what we'll usually do is that we'll create, like, let's say, we'll have the viewport in the middle here, and we'll create a widget. We will put things in widget, like we'll put, like, let's say, a health bar, you put some stats, you can put some stats down here, and so forth. And the player will be moving, but there will be a widget screen that is fixed. So the widget screen will be fixed, and it'll be the viewport, the player will be moving, and the scene in the viewport will be changing, but the different stats at the different locations will not change because they are fixed on the widget that is already exists in Unreal. You can achieve the same effect here in Godot through the use of the canvas layer. So now you will learn how to display text using label nodes. So you will select the root node, level 1. This was a node 2D. So we'll click this plus button here. We'll add a new node. This node is going to be a label. So type label. Select well selected here. Click create. So the label node is a very simple node. All it does is display text. So after you select tool here, I'll move this. I'll select the move tool. I'll move this here. I'll have you select Alt. You have some text you could put here. Start. So I want to adjust this label. So what I'll do, so I'll go by label settings, click this, new label settings. Then I need to click this again, and we can go to font, and font size. Let's make this about 32. You have to color this color as white. So what I'll do, I'll go to here, I'll rename this, type start label. I will duplicate this, so press Ctrl D. Alright, call this end label. Select the end label, select the move tool, drag this, define the eye. So the end is here, put the end here, and change the text from start to end. Select the start. Let's go. Okay, I want to put the outline, color. So I'm just trying something. Obviously, black. So if I outline 1 pixel. Okay. So now let's test this. We can press play, and okay, so I'm not seeing this. What the order is this on? So I'll go by the end label, and I'll scroll on, and I'll put the right ordering for the Z index to 1, and I press play. It's kind of easy, but I mean, yeah, so this is okay. So I'll give you a challenge. Um, go somewhere here, go somewhere, start here, and create some rules for the game. So I'll tell you what to put. Put move from start to end. Put stay in the maze. Simple rules. Let's see if you can complete that challenge. And you can also put move with the arrow keys. So what I'll do, I'll select the end node, press Ctrl D, duplicate this. I'll change this, rename this to tutorial. So that's rules. I will move this. Put this here. Like rules. One, move with the arrow keys. 2, Don't go outside. Go to the end. It's relatively simple, but here's the issue, right? Now we have these rules, but I find it's kind of, let's say it's a bit stupid. So I want to adjust the text. So what you need to do, put a label settings here, and we cannot, if you realize, if we change the font size here, we will also affect this, we will also affect this, because this is a duplicate. So what we'll do, we'll right click this, and we'll click make unique, and what the font, for this at, let's say 20. That should be okay. Now we can organize the main scene a bit. So just go to here and just type, well, just create a new node, type node, let's select the default one, create. So this is a normal node. So what I'll do, I'll just drag this to here, and what I'll do, so I will mute this here. I'll make this canvas layer a child of this. I will put the higher this control, 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 put these on the node. I'm just organizing things. So let's make sure this is working. Yeah, so this is working. Yeah, this is working as intended. Let's select this node and rename this. Call this graphics. You could always call this whatever you want. So there's a last thing to do. If we have this game here, press play, and if we go to full screen, we can see this doesn't really scale, so we need to address this. So what we need to do is select the background, and by the background is a text direct. So once this is selected, we go by here. So I side of view, so view here, go to side here, and change the anchor preset to full rect. So if you press play, and so this is full screen, essentially this is supposed to make the background scale with the window. So the issue was, when I press play, I need to go here and change from fixed size to stretch to fit. So now if I go here, the whole thing gets bigger and the background scales with the window. So there you have it. So I achieved the objectives for this video, so I'll end this video here. Thank you.